Hello, everyone. This is Arlo with the Dabbling in Discomfort podcast, where we strive to help you live an uncomfortable life. I am here today with my friend Dusty, and I'm super excited to have Dusty on. Dusty has done some incredibly hard things, and he's a physical therapist that I greatly respect, and we're just happy to have you here. Thank you, Dusty.
Thank you.
So this is episode 4 with Dusty Campbell. So Dusty, tell me a little bit about yourself. I don't know you very well. Like we've run in some of the same circles, it looks like, and I've hung out with you a couple of times for various things. But where'd you grow up? I don't even know.
So it's funny you say that because I was obviously thinking about this interview. I'm like, I think I've met Arlo like once or twice, maybe. But I'm from Southern California, Costa Mesa, born in Long Beach, moved to Costa Mesa. I was told because we got gunshots through our garage, and my parents were like, nope, we're out. So I moved down to Costa Mesa, grew up there, playing every sport under the sun.
Nice.
Little background on my parents, that my dad's a 2-time Olympic silver medalist in water polo.
Really?
Yeah.
So I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's also the most humble guy you'll ever meet. So you'll never know unless one of us brags for him. And then my ma was an All-American volleyball player for Stanford.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, I got a little lucky on that side of things.
Stanford usually has a pretty good team.
Yeah, and my ma, with maybe the exception of my grandma, sorry ma, is the single toughest woman I've ever met.
Nice.
And so
nice.
I came from stock of you get stuff done.
Yeah.
I should probably apologize earlier if I cuss in this. I hope you can cut it out. I try to control it. Every once in a while I get excited.
We'll probably just leave it, and right. People have been warned. So
yeah. So I mean, from there I played every sport under the sun. Once I got to high school, it was hockey and football. I played volleyball for my freshman year, and after that it was.
They had boys volleyball then.
Oh yeah, Southern California is the mecca for it.
Oh, that's right. Right. Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I actually played beach in 7th, 8th grade with my partner, who was 6'3" by 7th grade.
Oh man!
And we won those tournaments only because he was a beast.
Yeah,
Played volleyball for UCLA later, and I would just put the ball near the net and he'd go crush on people. So
love it.
It wasn't me by any means, but I played.
So hockey and football in high school.
Yep.
And then you went on to play hockey in college, correct?
Yeah. So actually, before college, I went from high school to Canada for 2 years.
Did you really?
Yeah, I went and played juniors up there, and that was an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in no offense, guys, the part of Canada you never want to go to or visit. It was kind of like stepping on the Mars. I went to Saskatchewan my first year.
Okay.
Regina, Saskatchewan, which make your own jokes there. Which I'm on the plane for the first time, heading to Regina at 17 years old. It's spelled Regina.
Okay, yeah.
Which I think is Regina, Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
The guy next to me goes, so you ever been to Regina? And I start laughing instantly. He goes, so clearly not. He goes, you'll love it. You can see your dog run away for a week. I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, oh, you'll see. And I stepped off the plane, and as far as the eye can see is completely flat with no bush, no trees, dead. It's spring, so it's winter up there. I'm like, what is going on? So I spent 2 years there, 1 year there, 1 year in Manitoba, and then off to college in West Virginia, where I played hockey for them, and a couple years in California after that, training and coaching.
Okay.
Strength and conditioning stuff, and
nice.
Realized 16 hours in a gym just wasn't it for me. Went on to PT school here, and they couldn't kick me out since.
Very cool. Where did you do PT school?
Here at the U.
At the U, okay.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Oh, I guess I'm in Ogden now.
Oh, yeah, you're fine, you're fine. Weber doesn't even have PT school, so.
That's true.
So it only makes sense that it was the U. But fantastic. So you're doing physical therapy now. When did you graduate from PT school?
May of 2019.
2019.
2019, I think it's been about 3 years.
All right. And have you done the same thing since? You work for someone else, you said?
Now I do, yeah. Originally I had started my own for the first few months, was working on SNF, and then realized I wanted a little bit more of a culture, but also some time to develop as a PT. Because when I did my own thing, I was so in the weeds of just trying to get business and focus on the business side of things. And it was like, I'm not getting better as a PT. I'm learning business, but I'm not learning PT. And
that's smart.
Well, it's just it was a humbling thing of you don't know everything yet. You need to learn how to do this better before you can do the business side of it.
Yeah, so I started my own business without really ever having trained anybody. And I
Nice.
feel bad for my first
No,
clients.
congrats,
I'm
man.
like,
That's
oh
awesome.
man, I should have known so much more before I started. And I really respect that you took a step back and said I should probably work for somebody else for a little while and develop myself more as a physical therapist.
There's goods and bads to it.
Right, yeah. I mean, learning the business side is definitely good too.
Oh, yeah.
And I've learned a lot along the way, and I feel better about my strength and conditioning now. But at first, man, while trying to get everything else up and running,
Kind of like drinking from the fire hose.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Nice. So you're practicing in Salt Lake, right?
South Jordan now.
Oh, South Jordan now.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're down in South Jordan, Ultimate Sports Performance and Rehab, and
Okay.
the other PT and the chiro are awesome guys, really, really good at what they do, which was part of what pulled me to them.
Yeah,
And on
yeah,
top
yeah.
of that, like we talked about, like we only know each other so much, but I goof off all the time. It's kind of my charisma, I guess. So
Yeah,
I can't take
yeah.
myself too seriously, and like
For sure.
at least in the PT setting of like whenever I was in PT since the 5th grade on, I was always uncomfortable when it was too stuffy in there.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I had my spot back home where it's the same idea. Like we just had a blast. I worked hard, but like
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna enjoy being here.
That's good. That's probably why we get along. I'm
Yeah.
totally the same way.
You don't
Like,
say.
it has to be fun, or I have no interest in it.
Right.
And we have a lot of fun here at Competitive Edge.
Oh yeah.
We-
And suffering, but a lot of
and
fun.
suffering. Suffering's good as well. So one thing that really made me want to get you on the podcast, I enjoy hanging out with you for sure. Anyway, and you're fun to be around, and you're really smart, which is awesome. So quick little backstory. I did go to see you for PT a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think I came down and saw you a couple of times for my elbow, and your approach was different than a lot of PTs that I've been to, and it was awesome. Like a fresh perspective is so cool, and I really appreciate you seeing me and helping me out with my elbow and just your approach to things. So anyway,
I appreciate that.
yes, I can't remember where I was going before that, but
Oh.
so your hard challenge.
Oh. Okay.
That
the recent one. Yes.
The recent one,
Yes.
yeah. When was that? It feels like it's been a while now.
Well,
but
it ended July 4th, which was the perfect goal.
Oh, that is awesome.
Right.
Absolutely.
For what we did. So
Yeah.
what he's talking about is I did a fundraiser for the Wounded Warrior Project, which if you don't know about the Wounded Warrior Project, I highly recommend going checking them out. They basically help our veterans when they come back, whether it's physical or mental illness or injury, they help them rehab. And they're a nonprofit. I've followed them for a very long time, and I've always wanted to get involved with them, but also at the same time not wanting to go all in on it just because it's hard to kind of go all in on a nonprofit unless it's your passion in life.
Yeah.
I've always respected them, and I've always respected our military and everything that they do for us. So that was the initial, well, we'll say that was the secondary reason, is because I've always supported the military. The first reason that I did this challenge, I guess I should probably say, is I skated from Jackson Hole to Salt Lake City on rollerblades. Everyone gets confused by roller skates versus rollerblades. And like, I played hockey, so it's like
Right. Yeah.
skating is blading. Like whatever.
Yeah.
So it's 285 miles where we were on highways. The goal was 48 hours. It took me 47. I slept for a collective 3 hours.
Oh man.
An hour of it was planned. And then actually here in Ogden, I almost passed out at 1 a.m. on an uphill. I started getting real lightheaded and spinning. I started like going side to side, and the van, who was my dad, my stepmom, and my fiance, at the time was my girlfriend, but they like pulled up next to me and like, I can't remember if it was my dad or my stepmom, because I was obviously delirious, like grabbed me and like dragged me against the side of the van before I hit the ground, and they threw me in the back of the car like, you're sleeping now.
Oh man.
So I set an alarm for like 45 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And like 2 hours later, we had a cop banging on the window.
Oh,
like, what
really?
are you doing here? And
Oh,
I was
shoot.
like- and then, thank God it wasn't me. I was in the back. My dad's like, he's been skating since Friday. Like, and we have this big sign on the side.
Yeah,
of our
right.
van.
Uh-huh.
He's been skating since Friday. He needs a little bit of sleep. And the guy goes, well, good luck with that, and walks away. But that was my pick-me-up to get home.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that either.
I don't know. That's fine. Yeah. So the nearly 300 miles from Jackson Hole to Wyoming, And it's not flat. There's so many hills.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's
man.
a lot of up and down.
Yeah, a lot of up and down. And the uphill obviously is a lot harder. Is the downhill scary at all? Because do you have brakes on your skates, I assume, or no?
No brakes.
How did you handle the downhills?
So it was a combination of, in hockey they're called C-cuts, where you basically just
Right, okay.
go side to side and you kind of rotate your hips really hard so you kind of get on your edges, kind of like skiing.
Yeah.
But obviously you can do it too much and then you slide and you fall. It's not like skiing where you just keep sliding.
Right.
Slip out. So there was a combination of that, and then there's always like the last resort is just drag a foot behind
Drag a
you.
foot behind.
Yeah, which sucks because one, like when you're tired, it hurts your knee.
Oh, yeah.
And after 200 plus miles, you're just like, I don't want to put my foot behind me.
Right.
Well, and then you're on one foot.
Uh-huh.
So if there's a rock or if there's a stick in front of you coming up that at 2 a.m. when there's no light out, and like I'm wearing a headlamp, it only sees so far away when you're doing 25 to 30 down this hill.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm on one foot. Like if I catch something, like I'm just Superman.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
On highways. So it's just like, it wasn't my brightest idea, we'll say that, but it was really cool. We raised a little over $17,000 for the Win World project,
that is
which was
awesome.
really, really cool,
So
and I appreciate
cool.
everyone who donated and supported me through that.
Yeah, for sure.
But
That's so cool. My brother broke 3 ribs rollerblading down a big hill once. So,
what did he hit?
well, he got the high speed wobbles and crashed and burned. It was there's you're probably not familiar with Trapper's Loop. It's up by Snow Basin.
Heard of it.
Okay, yeah. So a relatively long, steep road.
Mm-hmm.
He went up there with his girlfriend at the time. She may have been his fiance. I'm not sure, but anyway. The idea was that he would rollerblade down this hill, and when he got going too fast, she would pull around him in the car, and he'd.
Oh no!
He wasn't the brightest either, but we all make a lot of bad decisions in life. But
the funny thing is that was my initial plan.
Was it really?
Oh god, yeah! I'm sorry because you're like you said there's so much up and down.
Right.
Eventually, I'm gonna come through this valley. And originally, the plan was to come from Logan through Death Valley there, which is like the second most dangerous road in Utah.
Oh,
man. I didn't know.
Right.
As I'm planning this, my patients are like, are you kidding me? Like, have you ever driven this road? I'm like, no, I'm going to drive it in like a couple weeks and see how it looks. They're like, yeah, dude, you need to find another way around this. So I'm like, whatever, we'll just pull the van in front of me. And I'll just
right.
And then I'm like, but then I can't see the road. So if something comes under, I'm screwed. And I face plant in the back of a car.
He probably didn't think about that either.
Yeah, you don't. It's just like, I can hold on to something. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So anyway, he was up there. It was like a Sunday afternoon, and there was too much. Like it was busy, and so there were a lot of cars coming the other way, and he kept getting faster and faster, and she couldn't pull around him because of the cars. And yeah, he just kept going until he decided I'd better bail now. And
at least he did.
yeah, and he broke 3 ribs. He was pretty uncomfortable for a while. He ruined all my hockey gear.
Oh, I'm sure.
I just ate it up. He was wearing my shin and knee guards and elbow and like just melted through everything. Yeah. But it was worth it. It's a good story. Anyway.
That's too funny. God, it's too funny.
Anyway, were there times during this 285 mile skate where you thought maybe I should stop, or were you committed 100% of the time? So, did it ever go through your mind that
of course
I might not finish this or?
Okay, so 47 hours of skating with the exception of like 3 passed out. Like you can't not get there.
Right.
At some point you're just like, this is so dumb. What the hell am I doing out here? But at no point did it ever occur to me. Well, I'm wrong. At one point in the entire time did I even consider that I wouldn't make it, and it was Preston, Idaho. And I'll never forget it because. The issue wasn't because I trained for 6 months before this. Because I was like, if I'm going to do this, like I have to be ready for it.
Yeah. Which,
in a sense, I think kind of hurt me a little bit because my biggest issue on the skate were my feet.
Okay.
It wasn't endurance. It wasn't my legs. My 6 months of training, I actually, for once, programmed with graded progression without overdoing it. Yeah, and we all say it.
Oh yeah.
As I say, not as I do, kind of deal.
For sure.
So I was smart, and like when I first came up with the idea, I was like, I'm gonna do this right. Like if I'm gonna train for 6 months to do this stupid thing, I have to do it really, really well.
Yeah.
And so of course, and like for the first time in my life, like I hit my training almost exactly as I wanted to.
Nice.
Which was kind of nice, with the exception of with that much mileage. your skates break down and they compress, so then they have pressure points.
Oh, okay.
So in the last month to month and a half, I started having issues with training because my feet were breaking down.
Wow.
And it wasn't like they were getting fatigued, like I was having bony issues, which sucks.
Right.
So the worst part of the whole skate is my feet are just, after like the first 100, 150, my feet are just trashed.
Yeah. I bet.
So I can't remember where Preston is on that like scale of if it was at 150, 140. I don't really remember. I just remember at that point. Before then, I was switching because I had 2 sets of skates. I had a set of like long distance, like inline skates, which are these colossal wheels. Like the wheels are longer than the boots, and I got them sent to me from. Oh, I feel bad not remembering this. If it comes back to me, I'll promote it. But absolutely. They sent me these to support me, or they gave me like a 50% discount, so I could support the cause. But I had my old roller hockey skates, totally different setup. Like small wheels, or big in the back, small in front. But my feet hurt so bad, I had started switching between skates because they had different pressure points.
Yeah, for sure.
And so at Preston, I'd switched so many times, I got to the point where I couldn't stand on my feet anymore. Every step I took, like, it wasn't a stride anymore. Like my feet were trash, and it wasn't my legs again, it was my feet. I couldn't actually take a stride, and I was so angry. It was like 100-some degrees. I'm dehydrated. I'm malnourished. Like, everything hurts on me. But my feet, I can't take a step. And I'm so angry at this point because all these things going on in my head. And like, I pull off to the side of the road. The van comes in, and I just huck my skates. I was so angry.
Oh.
But I had made the decision beforehand to bring my team in, my support squad. I called them in the day that we started at like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, as you know, like night before competition, you can't really sleep.
Right.
And like, that's still going through me, and I'm just like, I get up early. I'm up at like 6 a.m. because like, why not? And we start at noon.
Wow.
Which is totally too much time to think about. But I pulled them in. I'm like, listen, guys, I'm going to start this right now because I know you all love me. I know you all are concerned for me. You're all a little bit afraid that something's going to go wrong, and I get that.
Yeah.
But at no point is anyone allowed to give me an out.
Nice.
Because I know at some point, like, I had listened to David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. Unbelievable book. David Goggins, you're a stud.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit mental, but you're a stud. I'd listened to it before, and it was one of those things that kind of clicked with me. I'm like, dude, this guy's on to something.
Yeah.
And I actually put it on because I can't, like, after 10 hours of skating, you can't listen to music anymore.
Right.
So I just listen to audiobooks all day.
Nice.
I went through like 50 audiobooks in this training. I'm like, Jesus. But I knew at some point I'd hit that wall.
Right.
And like you hear about it, like, I don't know about you, I hate running more than anything in the world. So at no point will I ever run a marathon.
I do as well.
Yeah, at no point will I run a marathon. But everyone talks about the wall, and I never like hit that in endurance.
Okay, yeah.
But I knew at some point that I hit a wall, but it was going to be mental.
Right.
Because no matter what, which Goggins talks about, is like, you can push yourself. Like, when you feel like you're breaking, you're at 40% capacity. I think it's 40. It might be a little less. But you're at 40% capacity, and that was really helpful for me. So, like, I got to Preston, I hucked my skates, I'm so angry. And thankfully, I can't remember who it was, someone's like, you need sleep. Like, go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so I lay down in the back all huffy and hot as hell. And the van's not on because and so like it's just baking in there. And I passed out for like maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I get up, and without a word, I just strap my skates back on, grab a water, and no one's talking to me because they know I'm angry.
Right.
I'm not one of those people, when I'm angry, just give me space. Like, give me a second. So I just put the skates on and literally just took off again and just keep moving. And it was interesting because after that, there was no breaking point mentally.
Nice.
Like, once I hit that break, it was like, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't let anyone reason with me. And thankfully, my team, like, stuck to, like, don't try and give me an out.
Yeah.
No one was talking to me. They were just like, just leave him alone, let him get his head right. And I just took off without, like, being able to think too much. And from there on out, there was no mental. It was entirely like, I'm going to get there. Right. Like, don't get me wrong, if I have to crawl in, I will make it.
Yeah.
And at that point, it kind of changed everything. I still had the feet issues. Like, I couldn't, like, after a certain point in time, I couldn't step anymore, so I had to switch to skates again. But it was no longer like, can I do this? It's just like, find a way.
Yeah.
Like, find the way to do it.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it was funny because, like, 285, everyone's like, dude, are you going to make that? And they're all like, I pulled into Liberty Park, and thankfully my biological mother had set up, and I say that like I'm not close with her. My mom and I are super tight. Love you, Ma. She had set up like this welcome party, I guess, or like people waiting at the finish line kind of deal, and like there's a bunch of people there, and like I think it was Channel 4. I'm gonna screw up all these things. Sorry, guys. It's been a while.
I read an article. ABC, is that ABC, Channel 4?
I think so.
I don't know. But ABC.
We'll talk about that in a second because that was kind of cool. But I pull in and like I had so much steam and so much energy still. Everyone's like, we thought you'd be like literally like crawling into this. And after Preston, it was no longer like I'm gonna die doing this.
Yeah.
It was like I'm gonna find a way. So by the time I got to Liberty, like I felt like if not for my feet, I probably could have gone.
Could have kept going.
Yeah, It was like it was interesting though because the whole way up to Preston, it's just mental. Like just keep going. Just don't think about it. But after
you get past
30-something hours, like there's no getting past it. Like,
well,
you can't put it out of your mind
after
anymore.
You accept it.
Yeah, you just accept it. Like, it's just suffering. Let's go. And so that was really interesting because like I've always wanted to like find that breaking point.
Yeah, for sure.
Which to the mental side, I feel like I pushed through that wall.
Right.
But the other side of it is, I don't want to say that it wasn't a great accomplishment or that it wasn't. Didn't feel fulfilled. But I didn't feel like I broke the physical.
Right.
Well, like,
I
like you hear these people literally pushing themselves, and like for me, the triathlon where the guy's body just melts in Hawaii. Do you remember this video?
No.
Oh my god, this guy goes into heat stroke, and like I can't remember where in the race he is, and he's trying to run, and his body starts shutting down to where he starts like rubbering, like rubber bones, everything, and he just falls apart and literally just collapses because he pushed himself so hard.
Wow.
And people can go like, well, he's not hydrated, he didn't nourishment, whatever. To me, though, that's someone who's literally pushed himself past any limits. So that was the other side of like, I kind of wanted to see if I could get there. And like, the health side of it is like, don't you do that, you idiot. But the mental side again. Which has become so much more to me since I retired from my sports. Like, I didn't realize that side of it. And, like, I've always been very fortunate because my parents and their mentalities and the way they brought me up of, like, when you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no rabbit ears to the stands. Like, don't listen to anyone else out there. Like, you're 100% in. So I've been able to kind of just focus on everything I did, but I never dove into the mental aspect before.
Okay, right.
Because I was just, with hockey at least, I was so uber focused on just being the best. The best performance or whatever, that I was entirely like, how do I get better? Physically. But I'd never actually gone to the mental side.
Right.
For me, it's like, we talk about uncomfortable. For me, talking about the skate, the physical side is not what I was concerned about. Because, like, we've been in this forever. Like, you can prepare for anything physically.
Right.
With a few exceptions. Like,
right.
I'm not going to run, like, if you don't know me, I'm a pretty big boy. Like, I'm not going to run a sub 2 hour Boston Marathon. That's not happening. Like, that's just not going to happen. But the mental side is so much deeper, and like I have some of my own demons that like when you're out there for 47 hours, like eventually you can't ignore them. Right. And to me, that was very interesting because like for me, physical uncomfortableness has been my way of life.
Okay.
Physical discomfort's
for sure
has been my way of life ever since I was born. It's literally like my mantra, which was passed on to me from my father and my mother, is like not the work harder, work smarter, but like hard work, or what's the saying? It's hard work beats talent when talent
doesn't work hard.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so I was always the bigger kid. I was a little bit slower. But I'd outwork anyone.
Nice. Yeah.
My entire life, and so like the physical discomfort is not an issue for me. I have, like, if anything, I love that. I crave it.
Yeah.
It was funny because we were talking about the sauna right before we went on, and I was telling him, like, I make myself sauna at least once or twice a week because I hate heat more than anyone you've ever met. Like, I cannot stand being hot. Like, it's suffocating to me. I'm miserable the whole time. But I do it just because it's like, make yourself uncomfortable.
Because it sucks. Yeah,
because it sucks. Do things that suck. But the mental side for me is so much more scary. And it's been something I've been pushing off for so long because, like, we all have our fears, and whether you'll admit them or not, like, they're there.
Yeah.
And, like... Sorry, I'm
intrigued
early morning,
to hear
I'm a little
what's
emotional in the mornings. So I've gone through some very crippling depression, Which is funny because it was during the peak of my physical performance. So when I was in Canada, I was very isolated. Which, because I'm an American, like there's always like the rivalry between Canadians and Americans.
Right.
And you live in these billet families who put you up for the team. But my billet family was always removed from the team. And I don't know if that was by design or if it just happened to work out that way.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was very introverted. Because all I had was sports, and so I didn't know how to like be interpersonal.
Right.
And so I kind of got isolated in that sense. My second year up there, I had a trainer who like I think he designed for me to be isolated because he was trying to he was trying to play my mental mind and like to get me to like screw everyone else. I can do it myself. Which to me actually ended up pushing me out of juniors.
Yeah.
And pushing me away from that team is because like I was all for the physical side of what he wanted to do with me. But when soon as you start playing with my mental and trying to control me, I get very upset and I get very rebellious.
Okay, right.
But because I was isolated so much, I went into this depression of like, no one likes me. Like, I'm valuable only for my physical abilities.
Okay.
In my second year up there, I was a top line player. I think my line mate was the leading scorer. And I was second behind him or points or something like that. So I was very highly respected for my abilities.
Yeah.
But I didn't have friends up there. At least my second team. My first team I had friends. It was a lot more like rambunctious, we say. But the second team, I didn't really have friends. I was just an athlete.
Okay, right.
And so I went through that, and it was like the lowest of the lows kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I had to get out of there because it pushed me to the breaking point of like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I've loved hockey since the age of 3. It's all I know. It's all I do. Yet I can't handle being here because of the mental side of like,
right.
You're screwing with my mind. And at the time, I didn't know he was messing with me. And I don't know if it was messing with me or trying to mold me, whatever you want to say. But at the time, it was so much that like this 18, 19-year-old kid, and you're trying to twist his mind to what you want it to be versus like helping him find himself.
Wow. Yeah.
And like since then, I've done I've tried very, very hard to never go back there.
Right.
At the expense of not confronting it. And so like, it's one of those things that I've pushed off for so long. And obviously during college, like I was still playing hockey, but
yeah,
I have a social side now. And I have friends, and it's like it made me like what I thought, quote unquote, happy. And it was a blast. Like, don't get me wrong. College is the best
right.
The most fun 4 years of my life. I'm not saying the best, but the most fun 4 years of my life. But then I went back to California to save money and because I moved back in with my mom. And be near my family and work. But again, I moved back to a place where I don't have a lot of friends.
Okay.
And I work 5 a.m. till 8 at night kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it's just you're in the mill, and it's just again you're isolated, you're alone. I have my family around me, but like it's all internal. Like I don't know if you ever went through that. Of, like you don't want to admit things to your family because you don't want to burden them, or you don't want to
right. Yeah.
So I internalized, which I mean my family can read me about it, but like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, right.
And then I moved to Utah, and like this place has been like it's the reason why I didn't leave. It's kind of been my mecca of like I can be myself, I can be honest with myself, and I can actually start to break down like those walls.
Okay.
And like, that's what's uncomfortable for me is going deep.
Right.
Which is funny because I had a conversation about this with Adam Stevenson.
Okay. Yeah.
Literally this week.
Really?
Yeah. So like, because like Adam is he's one of the most charismatic people I ever meet, as you probably know.
Yeah.
You know Adam, yeah.
Yep. I don't know him real well, but
okay.
we've played here and there.
So Adam is one of those people who, no matter who he talks to, he somehow manages to get deep. And it's amazing to me. It's like I was funny because I was watching him versus one of my other friends who is kind of confrontational.
Okay.
Not like he has a bad heart or
right.
that. He's just naturally argumentative. And I'm looking at these two people, and I'm like, I was eavesdropping on one of Adam's conversations, and like it just got so deep so fast. And I'm like, how did you do that? Like I didn't want to join the conversation because I was like, if I join, it'll change the dynamic. I kind of want to just observe like how this goes because I don't do that. I want to do that, but I don't even I can't figure out how to get there.
I'm terrible at it as
right?
well.
Like it's hard. Like, you have the small dog, you goof off, but like you never go hard deep.
Right,
and, like, I listen to him and I'm like, dude, I got to figure out how to do this because like I don't know anyone who doesn't like Adam.
Right. Yeah.
Because he creates these connections. And I was talking about it. He goes, yeah, I do all this research about these random things that like I'm not involved in, so I can make that connection. I'm like,
wow.
dude, that's amazing.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. That's
and
awesome.
obviously, it made enough of an impact on me that and yeah, it's recent, but like this whole week I've been reflecting. I've been forcing myself to journal because I hate writing. Doing something uncomfortable. But it's like my new interest of like, how do I get there?
Okay. Yeah.
And so Adam, if you hear this, like, cheers to you, brother. But yeah, and so like for me, like I said, I almost texted you last night, like tomorrow's gonna get really interesting really quickly.
Yeah.
Because I've obviously listened to all these podcasts, and I think you asked, it was either Ginger Ninja or Castillo, of like, is it all your discomfort physical, or do you play with the mental side?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but it was interesting.
I think we talked to Jeff, to the Ginger Ninja, about that because he and I both tend to direct our uncomfortableness or our discomfort toward the physical side because that's what we're familiar with. And,
absolutely.
But there's so much more to it than that.
Oh my
and it's
God.
interesting. Like I think you look at young kids growing up, and when we were young playing sports, it was all about the physical.
Oh yeah.
And then as we get older and wiser, maybe, I don't know if it's maybe not. No, but you start to realize how much the mental affects everything you do, whether it's performance or relationships, and yet somehow we neglect that our whole childhoods.
Well, you make a great point. Like we all tend to fall towards the physical side because, and I'm not going to blame anyone, but like for me, the coaching side of it, because it's obviously you're a strength and conditioning coach, you're TSAC certified, like the coaching side of it growing up was very focused on, I'm going to make you as physically capable as possible.
Right.
Which of course I went through as well.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't realize until I started learning about mental, of like the only coach that ever tried to play the mental side was the guy who drove me out of hockey. Because he was very narcissistic, he's always right, you're going to do things these ways, and he was a very, very smart guy, so he manipulated it to where like, this is how you get there, this is how you get to the NHL.
Right.
And it took me a long time, it took me over a year before I finally realized that he's toxic.
Yeah.
He's burned every bridge he's ever had because he tries to control everyone.
Huh.
But it did bring to light in the physical aspect. If you're training the athletes, and like for me, I'll tell you, like my passion, I love working with like high school, middle school, like I love working with young athletes.
Right.
Because they're still figuring things out, and I was so lost as a young kid mentally. Physically, I'd outwork anyone. It's fine. It's easy.
Yeah,
Show up all day. Let's go. But mentally, no one helped me with that, and I struggled for years. I had depression in high school. I had depression in Canada. But like going forward, I don't know if you read the New Zealand All Blacks culture book. I
haven't.
What it is.
No.
I'll look it up. I'll send it to you. I can't remember what it is. Yeah. But it talks about the culture inside of New Zealand All Blacks. And like ever since that book, I've been trying to find a culture, create a culture around myself of like, one, excellence, but two, support. And three, like mental excellence. So I talk to my high school kids all day, and like I get all the drama. Like I don't know if you heard about Bingham's wrestling stuff. Like I hear it all. But then I get these kids who come to me, and I've had multiple high schoolers like walk in, recognize that something's wrong with them from afar. Like, 'cause I'll be working on someone, they show up a little early, but you can tell they're not.
Right.
And I'll be like, hey, do me a favor, set them up in my room. I'll be in a second. And I go in, and like they're trying to hide it, and it's blatantly obvious. I'm like, dude, what's going on? Right. And they're like, no, I'm good. I'm like, you're clearly not. Like, and like I'm very lucky in where like our goofiness. It helps me make connections
for sure,
especially high school kids. Like they love it. But like I can break through these walls, and finally they'll break down. I've had multiple of them crying. Wow. And finally like opening up to me, and then afterwards they're good, they're happy, and they're back to themselves. And it's like, for me, those are the moments that like, it's why I got into this. It's why I do strength conditioning, because I want to make a difference in a kid's life. That's awesome. And like, I'd love to make a difference in everyone's life. Don't get me wrong, it'd be awesome. But like, for me, we talk about passions. Obviously, New Warrior Project's a passion of mine. Our military is a passion of mine. But like, at that point, I can only help so much, partially because I wasn't in the military. I had been through those experiences, and maybe this is a blind spot in my mind. But for me, I have a hard time listening to someone who hasn't experienced something similar. So like when I tried, my mom made me, she didn't make me, but she highly encouraged me to seek help from a therapist, like mental or a psychologist, when I was going through this depression.
Okay.
And I went to a guy like once or twice, but I couldn't keep going because I was trying to talk to him. And like at first, I basically interview him. I'm like, "What's your background? What do you do?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I went to this school and this school." And I'm like, "Have you ever played sport in your life?" I was, "Well, yeah, I played golf in high school and I play a little golf now." I'm like, "Nope, you don't understand this. You don't get it." And so being able to relate like that is very, very powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
And like I said, it might be a mental block of mine that I have a hard time like listening to people who don't make themselves uncomfortable.
Right.
The people who like live a cush life and just like don't get me wrong, I grew up great family. We didn't ever like suffer for food or anything like that, but like my parents instilled me early of like there's a difference between want and need.
Right.
And like you'll work for everything you want. We'll provide what you need, but you will work hard for everything that you want to achieve. And I learned that very, very young. And
that's good. I think a lot of kids miss out on that.
Right.
And I'm just as guilty as a parent as like I'm not calling everybody else out because I'm terrible at it as well.
That's the thing is like you want to provide for your kids. You want to spoil your kids and your kids.
Yeah.
I spoil my fiance every chance I get. Like, don't get me wrong. But it's I'm about to get married and my fiance cannot have kids fast enough. I'm like going through these things in my mind of like, how am I going to raise my kids?
Yeah.
And like, how can I make them be the best versions of us?
Right.
It's like, if we do the splicer of the gene thing, like, I hope they get all of her patience and all of her brains and my athleticism.
Yeah.
That would be like, we're golden, we're good. I'm like, oh, I love you, Renee, but she knows, like.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to me.
Yeah.
Stuff. But nice. I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Obviously,
all right.
Was it Jeff or was it David who asked you like, why do you do things that make you uncomfortable?
I think that was Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think a lot of it is just kind of to try and see what I'm capable of, and I like the challenge of challenges that bring me closer to that breaking point. I don't know that I've been to that breaking point either, right? I've been mentally challenged, but I've never been that guy that collapsed, like the Iron Man guy that just didn't have any more in. I can talk myself out of just about anything, but to actually reach that point, I don't know that I've done that yet.
Right.
And it intrigues me. Like I try and bring myself towards that.
Yeah.
to see what is that like, but at the same time I've never pushed myself hard enough to actually find out.
Right.
And so doing uncomfortable things for me is kind of grasping at that without the full commitment of actually doing it.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
What happens if I do reach it?
Right.
What happens next?
Yeah, I don't know. And I've thought a lot about that since that interview or since the podcast with Jeff, because he asked me and I didn't know. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of who I am and what I do. And
that's what I've always done.
I enjoy being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds.
I'm a masochist.
Yeah. but and we talked about it too. It's always, well, it's not always, because it's mentally challenging as well to do hard things, but I'm definitely drawn to the physical and what am I capable of and what can I do and
absolutely, and
how far can I push myself physically.
Yeah.
But having a deep conversation, something else. Like I'll stay away from that and go right? Carry this up the mountain.
Yeah. You're what is it? Your lake walks like holding some massive log on your head. Oh my god. TV 10 miles. Oh my god. I saw that. I'm like, that's like next level. Like painful. Like TVs are awkward, dude. I'm like,
it was super awkward. The interesting thing though, like, because people tell me I'm crazy all the time, which is part of what, when I saw what you were skating from Jackson to Salt Lake, I'm like, that is awesome.
See that? So you're one of the few people that said that. The rest are like, why?
What's
wrong with you?
Yeah. But where I was going with that, when like people see some of the stuff that I do and what you do and they think you guys are nuts. Like, why would you possibly do that? And I think honestly, I mean, we both spent a lot of time in strength and conditioning and sports, and we're probably more athletic and physical than a lot of other people that we hang out with because it's our world, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that people sell themselves short, and they look at some of the things that we do like, oh, I could never do that. But I don't think the things that we're doing are too far out there.
Yeah.
I think more people are capable of it than they think they are. And it comes back to the mental. I mean, you can train for anything, like we were saying, but to convince yourself that something's possible, like most people think the stuff I do is crazy just because they wouldn't try it. They're probably capable of carrying a TV 10 miles. Like
eventually.
Eventually,
don't walk out the door, please,
right.
people. Don't walk out the door with your TV. Like, that's bold.
Start small. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the challenge. I thrive on that. I guess it makes me feel more alive. Mm-hmm. When I think so often we take our bodies, our own physical bodies, for granted and don't think about them a whole lot. But when you're doing something extremely challenging, it forces you to think about what your body's capable of and what it's going through.
Or why you're doing it.
And why you're doing it. Yeah, and then the mental side too, like the mental challenge, trying to push past that is so rewarding, and it is incredible. Like you were talking about in Preston, and that you didn't push past it but accepted it. Like getting to that point where you don't think you can go anymore, everything's going wrong, and then pushing through that and just accepting it and being like, I'm going to do this regardless. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how I'm going to feel afterwards, but I know that I can push through this. And that's that feeling when you reach that point and accept it and just keep going, it fuels me.
Dude, so cool. So cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was... I have another question for you, but I want to go back real quick.
Okay.
Because you were saying that people don't think, they sell themselves short. They don't think even the possibility of doing that.
Right.
And for me, it's very personal because it goes to the nature versus nurture, which is always a debate I can't stand having. There's no way to prove it, which irritates me. But two, if you think it's one or the other, I think you're like blind to their side. It's kind of like yin versus yang. Like you have to have both.
Right.
Like, we'll go back to Goggins. The guy had like the roughest upbringing you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Pushed himself through it to be an animal. And then you have these Kush kids who fall and are soft or whatever. But for me, it goes back to, at least again, in my personal experience, there's a reason that like I have the drive and the mentality that I can push through anything or I can do anything physically. Because like my parents, my whole life, as long as I can ever remember, like you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. You just gotta put in the work. But I don't. Again, if you're grown up and everyone's telling you that you suck, you can't do it, you're worthless, you'll never accomplish that, you can either accept that or you can flip the middle finger and be like, no, I'm going to do it anyways. Like everyone told me I wouldn't play college hockey because I grew up in California. I'm a big boy. And it's like, well, because my parents instilled that, like, no, I'm going to make it happen.
Right.
And so like that, and I'm not saying it has to be parents, but like surrounding yourself with the people who, you talk about support, but like not only support but push you.
Yeah, for sure.
And like that's one of the things I've always respected about you is like everyone who comes in here, A, loves being here, but two, I've never seen anyone in here, and don't get me wrong, I've only been here once, but everyone who knows you and I see her talk about you is like we push ourselves every day because we want to be better.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get better. It's not like I hope I get better. It's like we will be better.
Right.
And like that is one of those things that I talking about culture, like I feel you've done an amazing job here of like building that culture of like we're gonna push it because we want to be better humans, or we want to be better people, or better physically, and like that I appreciate so much.
Well, thank
like,
you.
No, it's one of those things that's inspiring. But my other question for you.
Okay.
I can go on it, but my other question for you, as soon as we run out of time, please cut me.
Oh no, this is great. I have all day. No, well, another hour or when.
Okay, I got till like 9, so we're good. But I was going to ask you, how much does fear play a role in your choices of discomfort.
This is going to get deep, isn't it?
I told you. Like, I'm trying to get deeper with you. I want to know this stuff. And that's all the time we have.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you next time. It plays more of a role than I'd like to admit, I'm sure. So even though I frequently challenge myself to do hard things, it's always something I know I can do. I've never gone into something thinking, I don't know if I can pull this off. Like, every time I've done something challenging, and maybe it's optimism, I don't know, but because I am fairly optimistic, but I always go into challenging things with the belief that I'm going to do this. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how hard it's going to be, but I'm going to do it. And I tend to shy away from things that I don't feel that confident about. If that makes any sense. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, even though I challenge myself physically, I would, and this probably means that I should, but I should sign up for something like a triathlon where I have to swim for 2 miles, because that's way outside of my comfort zone. Okay. Swimming is not me.
Okay.
And so I'll do anything that I'll carry something, I'll pull trucks, I'll do anything challenging that kind of fits in my wheelhouse of comfort. Mm-hmm. Like, man, this could go so. I don't know. So yeah. I've reached the point where being uncomfortable is comfortable to me, mm-hmm. as long as it's this stuff over here.
Absolutely.
But something and that's not to say I won't try new things, because I love new experiences and I love trying different things. But as far as really challenging myself, it's something where I tend to challenge myself with things that I'm comfortable doing.
Yeah. And, like, that's not to take away from anything you've done, because you do ridiculously hard things. Like, I love how you say, like, in my wheelhouse of comfortable, is pulling a truck 10 miles. Like, well, what? Yeah, super easy. Got that one covered. I was like, what?
But
yeah,
and I'm sure there's a lot of other things. But, like, swimming is something that I won't challenge myself to do because of fear. And I can swim. I've never swam very far. There was one time we were so my wife and I were at some hotel, and they had a swimming pool, and the Guardian was on.
Oh, great.
Was on, yeah. Yep. And there's that part where they're treading water, and if they sink or grab a hold of somebody, they're out, right? Yeah. And so we get this dumb idea that we're like, let's go down to the pool and see how long we can tread water.
But you have no reverence. Treading water sucks.
Oh, it's terrible. So I think I made it like 10 minutes. Nice. And I'm like, I'm done. And my wife continued on. She treaded water for, like, after an hour, she's like, okay, let's do something else. I'm bored. Like, she's totally comfortable sitting there treading water, and I would have drowned, right? After 10 or 15 minutes. But, yeah, so and I've known this about myself. And it sucks that you brought it up. No, you're good. No, I appreciate it as well. But I do need to challenge myself different ways and address that fear a little more. And again, swimming's the only example I can think of right off, but I'm sure there's a lot of different things that would challenge me to a completely different level. Absolutely. But I avoid them. Well, even deep conversations, honestly, I avoid deep conversations because I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah. And it's scary.
Uh-huh.
And, like, that's one of those things, like, because I'm not going to, like, don't mistake the fact that you avoid certain things just, like, you just actively, like, I'm not doing that, like, I'm afraid of that. It's, like, I think that we have these blind spots that we don't know we're afraid of things.
Right.
Until someone draws it out of us, or until, like, there's something that kind of, like, brings attention to it, like, oh, shoot, like, that terrifies me.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, I'm never going to be the cynic who's, like, oh, you're just afraid, you don't want to admit it. It's like a lot of people just have no idea why they're afraid until, like, they go deeper.
Huh.
And, like, again, for me, it's been a very long road of mental that like I've fought against and I've ignored for a very long time until you can't.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, you never have to swim laps. You don't have to go swim in the pool.
Right. No, I know.
It's one of those things that I'm always curious because like inside, and I don't talk about it very often because there's always this stigma of being like the big strong guy or whatever. Like, they're not emotional, but I've avoided it for very long because it terrifies me. Of like what's gonna happen once I start breaking down walls. Like thankfully now, like obviously I always had a family that's supportive, but like I'm trying to be very open with my fiance about these things, and I think it's funny because I'll go off like this, and she'll kind of get like, she'll just let me go, just kind of wait watching me. That's real. I hope I'm not scaring her, but I mean, she's been committed, so that's always nice.
But, must not be scaring her too much.
I hope not. Shoot. Yeah. It's always a constant fear.
Right. Yeah.
But,
yeah, so you're getting married in June, you said, right?
Yeah.
So Dusty, for our listeners, Dusty's getting married in June.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big life change.
And that's the funny thing is like...
Or is it not?
It's really not. So like we've been together for 3 years.
Okay, yeah.
We've lived together for over 2. So like like I've never had a relationship last more than a year.
Okay, all right.
Like, and I mean 7 days shy of a year. So like I know that I've never had a relationship last.
Yeah.
But like with her, it was always very like from like the 3rd month or the 2nd month or something like that. From the 2nd month, there was something different.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but I'm like, this girl like gets it, and she like she gets me, but she accepts me, because I would always break things off with a girl who's trying to change me.
Right.
Because like I mean, we can go to we're men, we don't change kind of deal. But
like,
the truth is like change is hard, but at the same time, I don't want you to shape me.
Yeah,
into your image. For sure. Like I want to be myself and grow in the way that I want to. So it's always overbearing for me when people are like, "You need to change this."
Right.
And I've pushed back really hard. But with her, she was very accepting of who I am with all my faults, which there are many.
Yeah.
And then, but it was. She'll tell you, it's like I took her out to California after dating for like 2 months. But apparently, I didn't realize this at the time, just because like. The final, I guess, like test, quote unquote test, is like if my family doesn't like you, like we're gonna have issues.
Oh, okay, right.
So I took her out there, and like from her standpoint, she doesn't know if we're dating. Like we didn't even put a label on it.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have that talk yet, and so I took her out to meet my family, and she's out there. I'm introducing her to everyone. And like for me introducing you to my family, like that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like the pressure. It's just like. Now I think you're going to stick around. I don't bring girls around that I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you to my family.
Yeah.
But if I think you're probably going to stick around, I'll introduce you to my family. And for her, it was faster than anyone. And we got back, and she's like, so what are we? Like, I met your whole family. And it didn't really click with me, because it's like, I don't know, that's just how I do things.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
But, shoot, I forgot where I started with that. But yeah, I mean, she's everything to me, obviously.
Yeah.
Then we do this ridiculous challenge of skating from Jackson from the start, because I don't know if you've seen The Miracle.
Yes.
Miracle
Yep.
The Disney, where like the wife gets upset with Herb Brooks because he doesn't ask for her permission.
Right.
And obviously, being a hockey guy and uber patriotic, like I've seen that movie a million times. I could quote probably the whole movie. But like that stuck in my mind of like just because it's an altruistic thing to do and it's for a great cause, you still have to make sure that like the people around you, like you're not. Like, they're with you on that.
Yeah.
If they're not, either A, you're going to have friction to where it's going to be so much harder.
For sure.
But the harder part is it'll drive a wedge.
Yes.
And so for me, I came up with this idea, which I didn't really touch on why it originally started. And the original reason was just because it was during, like, all the politics and all the cancel culture and all this stuff. And, like, I'm someone who, I don't watch news. I refuse to.
Yeah,
it's too much fear-mongering for me. Like, it bothers me. But in the clinic, that's all everyone talks about. It's Trump or Biden and rah, and like it just eats away at me. Like, cause like you, I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
You get all this negativity around you. It's just eating me up, and I'm just getting more and more frustrated. I can't talk to people about it because like it's gonna start an argument, and like I don't really like to argue with people. And I was so fed up that I took my dog for a skate around the park because, like I said, I hate to run. So I was like,
right.
My dog will get more energy out there. Skate it faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was skating around the park, and I literally was coming around Liberty, and I'm like, dude, I got to do something because, like, the biggest thing for me is you can complain about something all you want, but that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Or you can be an agent of change and try and change it for the positive. So, like, the real behind why I did all this is, like, I want to bring some positivity back to the world, some good vibes, some, like, try and help those who are in need.
Yeah.
And Renee never likes it when my fiance name Renee, she never likes it when I bring that up because it seems like I'm just pissed off at the world. She's like, yeah, the real reason you're angry. All right, cool. But the whole goal was to try and bring some optimism and bring some light back into, like, the darkness that was kind of, like, creeping in on me of just the culture that had evolved and all these Black Lives Matter. And, like, I'm not going to touch on their comments, but just, like, there's so much negativity going on. There was the kid who shot someone across state lines. There was the big...
Oh, right.
I can't remember his name.
Kyle Rittenhouse, I believe.
Yes, Rittenhouse. And, like, there's all this negativity and, like, killing him. He deserves death penalty. It's like, dude, you're literally, like, calling to kill people.
You're right.
And there's, like... And the kid's 17. Or 18 or whatever he is. It's like, dude, this is a kid.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not going to go into whether he's right or wrong because it's not my place. But, like, the worst part is, like, so we watched the questioning of Rittenhouse. It's like a 2-hour video on YouTube, which we got, like, maybe an hour into. And we're watching it, and, like, I have my opinion as I'm listening to the responses, and I'm listening to the lawyers, and I'm listening to all this of, like, how it's coming off to me. My fiance's agreeing with me. And so we're like, how is this happening like this? Like I said, I'm not going to touch on either side. But
right.
How is this happening? Like, how is this even, like, a thing? And then she pops on social media to see what is going on social media, like hashtag Rittenhouse or hashtag Kyle or something like that. And it's so much negativity of, like, this kid's a murderer, he's a horrible human, and all this stuff. And within, like, 2 minutes of being on there, she flips sides.
Oh, no.
And like, for me, it was so obvious.
Yeah.
But because the social media, like, you're not aware of how much it affects you.
It influences you so much, huh?
Right. And so, like, her entire perspective, like, shifts instantly. And I turned around, I'm like, did you see what just happened there? Like, are you aware of what just went down? And she goes, what do you mean? Like, this is this? And I'm like, no, I'm talking about, like, the fact that you were on one side of this. You were on Instagram for 2 minutes, and your whole perspective got changed.
Wow.
And for me, it was such an obvious, like, example of the fact that social media can be so damaging.
Right.
And not saying that, like, they were wrong, like, that he's terrible or he's good. Like, I'm not going to, like I said, I have my opinions. But it's scary to think how the news or social media can shift the mindset of people.
Yeah.
And so, like, all of that had just been, like, piling up on me of, like, we need to change this. Like, we need to bring this back to, like, a community feeling and a culture of, like, we're here for each other. Right. Because, like, I've touched on plenty of times today, I'm very patriotic. I'll defend my country to the death. I was in Canada, and anytime they want to, like, talk smack on my country, like, I'd come right at them. I'm fine with it. Hey, Yank, you're the Yank, yeah? You want to go? Your country's soft. Yep, we're going now. Let's go. I'm okay with that. And so it bothers me when people are like, I hate this country. Yeah. And I'm like, first off, if you really hate this country, leave. Almost every other country in the world is so much easier to move into. Like, they'll take anyone. We're the ones who are restricted because it's an amazing place to live. But I understand the frustration. Yeah, right. So I just make a compartmentalize of, like, I love this country more than anything. That doesn't mean I agree with the politics of the government. Right. On any house or whatever. So, like, I can make that split, but people associate for sure that with that, and that always bothered me because, like, if it's really that bad, like, go down to one of the South America or Africa where these people are literally illegally running across the border to get here. And see what living like there is like. And if that's for you, awesome. It's
so hard for me to listen to people talk about how bad the United States is. I've traveled all over the world to a lot of third world countries, and I'm just like, we have it so good here.
And that's you're inundated here of, like, oh no, like this should be happening, like, because we have freedom of speech.
Right.
Which is the best.
Yeah.
The problem is now, in my opinion, that like freedom of speech has gotten tainted of the fact that with this cancel culture of like, if you don't agree with me, your opinion's invalid, you're a horrible human.
Right.
Because we don't agree.
Yep.
And for me, that's so horrible just because like that's the whole point of democracy is like we should have different opinions.
For sure.
So that way we can come together, collaborate, and come up with a better solution.
Yeah.
But like with this whole cancel culture thing, like it terrifies me because like someone says one wrong thing. One of the worst is like from 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're ruining their lives now. And you're like, what just happened? Like, if you go back to my childhood, I'm sure I said some really messed up stuff.
Oh, guaranteed.
Like, growing up in Southern California, like there's a Hispanic culture, and like when you get hit in the back of the head, like you say something racist, like that just comes out. And I'm not saying it's good or it's justified in any means.
Yeah.
But what comes out when you get hit in the back of the head, like things come out.
For sure.
And of course you don't mean it. It's just something that pissed off the other guy. But like, yeah, if you go back long enough, everyone has a history.
Oh, everybody, yeah.
And I can't remember. It might have been the Tim Ferriss show I was listening to, but he's like, if any of like the world leaders that are the most influential of all time or the most well respected, if they were to try to run for office now, they'd never be elected. Like Churchill was an alcoholic, smoking cigars all the time. He had all these other issues, but like what he did overall was amazing.
Right.
And so that's the part that like, I don't know how we got to the culture side of this, but like, to me we've lost of like, instead of trying to pick everyone apart for their flaws.
Right.
Why don't we celebrate the fact, one, their attributes, but two, how we can disagree, but we can still love each other for it. Yeah,
definitely. I love that. That brings me back to you talking about your fiance. Like, she knows your faults.
Oh, yeah.
And she accepts them and she loves you anyway. That's how it should be.
Agreed.
We all have faults, right?
Oh.
I have faults, you have faults, she has faults. I assume. Maybe not, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
I love my girl, but we all have faults.
I won't make you talk about it. No, but I mean, like, all of us have screwed up. Every single person is screwed up. Everybody has faults. And to suddenly point to something and say, oh, you're a terrible person because of this. Like, well, what about you? Wait till they start picking in your life, right? you think you're going to come back better on the scorecard? I don't know. and it's just, I mean, it is frightening that how differences of opinion aren't tolerated anymore and how everything's so polarized. Like, we should absolutely be able to disagree on any number of things and still get along great, still have a great relationship, still be able to talk through things and, well, why do you feel this way? And have actual conversation and be exposed to different perspectives rather than saying, no, this is the way it is, and if you don't agree with me, you're a terrible person that I don't want anything to do with.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I'm like, that's... I don't know if it was a part of grad school or when some professor said this to me, or teacher, or whatever they were, of like, your worldview doesn't grow by looking through one set of eyeglasses.
Yeah.
You grow by learning how everyone else sees the world. Right. And it makes you, A, more tolerant, but B, more intelligent. Like, you learn things because you're able to see them differently. Yeah. And it's literally like problem solving of like, okay, if I teach you one way to do things, you're going to get to a point where like you have one problem and it's not going to work for that. Right. So you have to find another way around the solution. Or to get to the solution, think your way around it. But if you only look at it from your perspective, you're stuck. Good luck. And so like that to me is just, I feel like it's something we have to try actively to bring back. Yeah, for sure. Like, I want to hear your opinion. Whether I agree with it or not, I want to know because I want to understand why you have this opinion. And if we don't agree, that's fine. But maybe just enough. It changes the way I think to the next time someone has this opinion, I can see where they're coming from. Right. And so I can not argue, but I can respond in a way that helps them understand the other side as well. Yeah. So that way we all get better and we all grow. I've heard this story before, but something just yesterday I was listening to, and I can't even remember where I heard it. Anyway, it was talking about
talking about a group of blind guys that came across an elephant. And have you heard the
Yes.
group of
Oh.
and whatever I was listening to yesterday is like, why they're there with this elephant, who knows? Like, but group of blind guys and an elephant, and one is touching its tusk, and one is touching its tail, and one is touching its leg, and one's patting it on the side, and they all have this completely different view of what an elephant is.
Yeah.
And it's because they're too close to it, and they're not opening their eyes. Just sounds terrible. Sorry.
That was awesome.
They're not opening their minds to that this is just a small piece of this. This isn't the big picture. And I think so many of us, and again I'm guilty as well, we'll look at different cultural issues or whatever, and we see only a small part of it, and we identify, like, we look at that and say, okay, this is what it is, rather than opening our minds to other perspectives and gathering other people's perspective and making a more informed decision on that, rather than just tunnel visioning on what we already think. So,
well, to me, this is the perfect come around to the whole point of this, of like, it is arguably, maybe in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, it is arguably the hardest thing in the world.
I'll tell you if you're wrong or right. No, I'm just kidding.
Please do. No, it is the single most difficult thing in the world, A, to admit you're wrong.
Yeah.
And B, on the second side of that, admit that someone else is right.
Uh-huh.
So talking about being uncomfortable, of like, you have this built up mindset of like everything you do is based on these fundamental principles.
Right.
Elon Musk, you're welcome. Yeah, I pull from everyone. I can't help it.
Absolutely. No, it's good.
Giants,
that's
right?
what we're talking about.
But no matter what you do, like, the initial response to someone is to push back because you have these beliefs. Whether you're right or wrong, it's just some people do it better or worse than others, where like I'm screaming at you versus I'm more just questioning your beliefs or your thought process or whatever it is. It is so difficult to, like, you know what? You're absolutely right, and I hate that you're right. Like, it's so hard to flip that switch.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I ever like had the truest observation of that is I did an internship where you talked about, like, I do things a little differently. Because I had a mentor who in Indianapolis, I was out there for 2 months, and the first 2 weeks I was completely lost in arguing with this guy.
Okay.
Because he basically challenged everything I'd ever learned about the human body, about physiology, about kinesiology, all of it. And it was very Socratic method, which is very irritating in its own sense of, like, I ask you a question, you answer it with another question. I'm like, I don't know, that's the problem. I'm trying to figure this out. But it forces you to think. And after about 2 weeks, I'm finally like, I hate that you're right, but I can't disprove this. Like, you're totally onto something that I've never understood or like even conceptualized. Because like he pulls things from all around nature, the laws of physics, and I'm like, there's no more arguing with this. Like, you are 100% onto like the right path. Right. But I still hate that you were right. Everything I thought I knew. For sure. Totally question everything now. Like, how did this just happen? And by the end, I was like inundated, like drinking from the Kool-Aid. I'm like, dude, like, how do we do this better? Right. But it's that's awesome. The most uncomfortable I think I've ever been is like when people are like saying things that I disagree with, and the initial thought is like, no, I'm going to argue with you now. Like, you're going to have to prove this to me.
And then they do.
Well, and very few people do because it just gets emotional, and then you just like get pissed off. And like for me, when it gets emotional, I just walk away. It's the least helpful situation where like you start getting into it, I'm like, okay, thanks, and walk out the door. I'm like, I'm not having this conversation anymore. But it doesn't help change anything, right? Right. Versus like very few people can actually like keep working to the point where like you understand. So it's very like, to me, the ultimate discomfort is trying to, like I said, see something from somewhere else because you have all these like confirmation biases. And so like, I didn't think we would get to that point today. I didn't see that coming, but I was kind of nice. I was like, dang, okay. Ping, there's a light bulb. For sure. I'm going to go home and argue with my wife. No, I'm just kidding.
Trying to be more uncomfortable.
Yeah, in every sense, man. It's so easy to make yourself uncomfortable. Oh, sorry. It's very simple to make yourself uncomfortable.
Simple, right.
Not easy.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Shoot, man.
So what's next for you? Any other big plans, big challenges, or?
After the skate, everyone's like, you doing this next year? Absolutely not.
Nice.
But even that wasn't for myself.
Right.
Like,
right.
I wouldn't be, like, if I was completely single, or if I was single, I probably would have done something like that again this year. Whether it was a skate or not, like, I would have done something, like, to that magnitude again, because, like, I have plenty of free time when I'm single.
Right.
But the 6 months of training that led up to it not only took all of my time. Talk about uncomfortable. Like, I was trying to, like, find new ways of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I knew I'd be skating nonstop. So I would train overnight. My fiance would go to bed. Renee is a big cuddler.
Okay.
And so, like, she'd be like, can you just lay down with me for, like, 30 minutes, which is the hardest thing at 10:30 at night when you want to, like, train.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, of course, babe. Like, of course I will. I'm like, I set my alarm. 30 minutes later, all right, love you, give me a kiss. Roll out to my bike. Or I was doing midnight skates in February.
Right.
Yeah. 20 degrees out there for 80 miles. Not cool.
Oh, man.
It sucked. But the overnight ones, I did a couple overnight skates, but then it started getting all, like, gnarly just because, like, if someone comes up on you or, like, it's a little dangerous at some point. But I bought a bike just so I could train at home as quick as possible, so I didn't have to make it to the gym, come back, and also I could watch, like, documentaries while I rode, because when you're on a bike for 4 hours, it's boring.
I can't imagine being on a bike for 4 hours.
Yeah, that sounds, you watch movies or documentaries, but, like, so I'm trying to find all these new ways to be uncomfortable, so that way when it gets to the worst, I've been in worse kind of deal.
Yeah, for sure.
But I will say the, like, most painful thing I did the whole time, with the exception of the skate, is, like, so I rode my bike for 120, 150 miles overnight.
Okay.
No sleep for, like, 48 hours. I go to work the next morning, and I'm struggling. My eyes are bloodshot,
I bet.
dried out.
Oh, man.
I'm hurting. And, like, I suffered my way through work. Thankfully, it was just a half day. But the only reason it's a half day is because I got a tattoo, but the second appointment for the tattoo is in the afternoon. I don't know if you know this, sleep deprivation increases pain intensity.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So, I'd never done the sleep deprivation on purpose.
Oh, no.
Totally forgot about this. There's that show on Netflix called Awake or something like that.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh, it's interesting. Like, they keep them up all night and they have count corners. Anyways, there's a little tidbit on the bottom that says it amplifies pain by a certain percent.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that. Going to this tattoo, and the first time he did it, I was like, dude, this is fine. Like, 4 hours in, I'm like, no, we're good. It's uncomfortable, but we're good. Because we're used to uncomfortable, right? It doesn't bother me. 48 hours without sleep, he goes in, and I am just biting my teeth, just like, come on, man, how long is this going to go for? And at the point where you're like, am I going to tap out? Like, am I that guy?
Yeah.
And thank God he finally ends, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God, dude, that was horrible. He goes, why was today so much worse? I'm like, I didn't sleep last night. He goes, like, you slept poorly? I'm like, no, I trained instead of slept. He goes, yeah, don't ever do that again. I was like, oh my God.
That's funny.
It's just finding new ways to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you really, really want to be uncomfortable, go ahead and go sleep deprived. Try and go to work, and then get stabbed by a small needle.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, it's too funny.
But
Oh, sorry. I guess I didn't really answer your question, but for what's coming up, I've been very focused on the mental side of things and trying to improve my cognitive game.
Okay.
So I'm forcing myself to meditate, which is so hard, which makes no sense because Headspace, it's like 10 minutes. How do you not have 10 minutes to meditate? But you can always justify doing something else.
Oh, for sure.
I'm doing that, and then I actually have a big project that I was hoping I would get out before the wedding, so it could be live, but it's not looking good because it's a lot more involved than I expected. I'm trying to, I don't know if this is the case in Ogden, but I've noticed a very severe, and if I offend you on this, sorry, I'm not sorry. I've noticed a very big drop-off of ability, or of personnel in Utah, at least down by South Jordan, like Harriman area where I work, of not legitimate, but skilled coaches for youth development.
Yeah.
So like all my kids that come into me, I shouldn't say all, but most of the kids that come into me have very poor conditioning or strength mechanics.
Right.
And so I always ask the question, I'm like, so like you play soccer. Like, do you do anything outside of soccer? Like, do you do any other training? Or do you train with anyone? Does anyone like show you how to do, like, make you stronger?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we have a weightlifting class at high school, and like, I'm like, that's awesome. It's fantastic. Like, what are they writing up a workout on the board? Like, are they walking around, like helping you like learn how to do it well? And they're like, no, they kind of just write on the board.
Oh,
maybe they'll like run through the exercises. They'll just show us how to do it, and then they'll go sit in their office, which burns inside me. Like, nothing pisses me off more, because this is like the most arguably fragile and plastic.
Right.
Plasticity. I'm saying that wrong, but neuroplasticity is where I'm trying to go with it. But moldable.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, the most moldable population you could have. That could also cause the most damage, with the exception of maybe the elderly. But movement patterns are the most malleable in youth.
Right.
So if you can train these kids and like from 6, 7, 8 through high school with great movement patterns, at least for injury prevention.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be that much better the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
And every single one of these kids comes in, and I'm like, is anyone teaching you to do this? And they're like, well, sort of. And then we YouTube, and I'm like, YouTube's the best and the worst. Like, you hope they're following someone good, otherwise you're just wrecking yourself.
Oh.
And so it's like, I've been noticing it long enough, and that it's eaten away at me for long enough that I've had it, that I'm going to come out with something for our youth athletic population, whether it's athletic or just coordination. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But for me, it hurts me that like no one is filling this void for these kids, because I treat them all once they blow their ACL, once they blow out a shoulder, and it's because like, who is like, either A, like, obviously if they don't have access to it, like, I understand, like, there's things out there, but the kids, the absolute worst to me are the kids that go to a trainer. And I'm not going to name names. I could. I'm not going to. I'm not that petty. But they go to these guys, and either A, there's so many people in the room that they can't keep track of the kids.
Yeah.
Which I get is hard, but stop overbooking yourself. Take care of the kids. Like, quality over cash.
Right.
Not quality over quantity. Quality over cash. So that, or the coach or the trainer, however you want to qualify themselves, that they don't care enough to fix it, or they don't know. And in my sake, I hope it's just that
they don't know.
Yeah, that they're blissfully ignorant.
Right.
That like they're doing the best they can, and they're trying to get better, they're trying to learn more. Because you were talking about when you first started, like, you feel bad for your first clients. It's trash. Like, I look back at my first clients, I'm like, dude, I was garbage. Like, I was so bad.
Yeah.
But at no point do I ever want to get to that point where, like, I look back and I'm like, yeah, I was good then.
Right.
I'm killing it still. Like, this is the same game. I'm like, no, that means you're getting worse, dude. Get better. And so,
yeah.
It's
Definitely.
one of those things. So, like, blissfully ignorant, like, I can understand. Like, you're trying to learn.
Right.
The ones that just ignore it irritate me. Because it's like, you know better. It's not good enough. Like, unless you're doing like aerobic capacity, you just, again, the mental side, like, you just need to survive.
Yeah.
I'll let some stuff go because it's not risky. Like, you walking on a Stairmaster, like, with the exception of you falling off the Stairmaster and smacking your head on the ground, like, I'm not too worried about anything going wrong.
Right.
But kids are doing plyometrics and their knees are bouncing together. I'm like, how are you not trying to correct this? Lower intensity, and like I said, it's hurt me enough to where, like, it's bothered me enough to where I've had enough of it that I'm gonna fill the void, because I can't watch it anymore. Right. It's totally killing me. I'll be putting on boot camps and stuff all summer. I'm trying to like build a website right now, so that way, like, there's a platform for them to go to. Because obviously I still work as PT full time. But I want to help these kids. That is awesome. And so I have a buddy who's helping me do it, who's a stud. And he works with more of a, not elderly, but like adult population. His name's Alan Barker. The guy's amazing. If you want to talk to someone who's does some weird stuff, Alan's your guy. He didn't walk across America, but I've started doing it because it's bothered me long enough that I can't ignore it anymore. And like, someone's got to do it. Absolutely, it should be you. I say I'm going to do it. I think that's so awesome. I'm excited to see it and see what you get into. I appreciate that. I'm sure I'll be calling you for some advice. I don't know. When it comes to the tactical stuff, like, you're the master. Like, I know some other things, but It brings me to the point. If you need to cut me off, you can. This has been a good one. But
yeah, we probably should soon. Okay. But go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, what's your goals? What's next for you?
So I'm not entirely sure. I have a couple ideas for this year. I think we'll probably do the truck pull again. So it exploded, and I think a lot of the people that came last year want to do it again. So, amazing, man. Which, yeah, it blows my mind. It's crazy to see. Like, so the first year it was me and some support people out there, and last year there were 30 people pulling trucks. Right?
God, that's so cool.
I'm just like, it's incredible. And so part of me wanted to do something else, and part of me wants to, and I hate to admit this, but part of me wants to just go out there alone again. But to see the growth that we saw and so many people involved and interested in fundraising to fight sex trafficking, that was awesome. Right. And I know a lot of people want to do it again, so we will probably do it again.
Well, and that's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And then one of my other goals for this year, I want to do a marathon, but not running. I want to carry something every mile for 26 miles, something different. So 26 different objects. Whoa. They have to weigh at least 50 pounds. So I'm not going too crazy. Just 50 pounds.
Just 50 pounds.
Switch objects every mile, and it'll probably take me a day and a half. I don't know.
So is this continuous, or are you going to stop?
Yeah, no, I'm not going. I mean, I'll take breaks here and there, but yeah, I want it to be a continuous thing.
God, you're a savage.
But
Dear
we'll see.
Lord.
I'm going into it with the opinion that I can do it. But,
of course, it's the only way to get
we'll
through.
see.
But if you go into the opinion of the question, eventually you'll be like, I can't do it.
Yeah. That's such an important point. Like, I think a lot of people enter challenging situations unsure if they can do it or with doubt in their mind. And it's okay to have doubts. I'm not saying that, but if you go into it thinking I'm not going to be able to pull this off, or I might not be able to pull this off, you're probably not going to. But if you go into it with the belief that, yes, I can do this, it's going to suck, it's going to be terrible, but I know that I can do it, you probably will.
Oh, 100%. Couldn't have said it better.
And with that, we probably should wrap up now.
Sorry for taking so much time.
No, it's been awesome. And, man, I still feel like we could talk a long time, so we'll have to get you back on the podcast.
I'd be honored.
But I certainly appreciate you coming out, Dusty.
No, thank you for
I
having
appreciate
me.
you as a person, as a friend, and I'm really grateful that you made the trip up today to be on the podcast.
I'm honored, man, to be invited, and like you said, like I'm honored to have you as a friend and be able to reach out and touch base with you.
Yeah, for sure. We should do hard things together sometime.
Amen. I don't know if I can carry something for 26 miles.
No, you don't need to. Awesome. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next time. We actually won't see anybody, but you can listen to us again soon.